To quick access to photo mode shortcut in The Last of Us Part 2, you can press Option button and from Options select Controls. And from there you can see there is an option photo mode shortcut. By turning on that option, you can quick access to photo mode shortcut by pressing L3 and R3 at the same time. And if you don't want to do that, you can simply press Options and select photo mode in option menu directly in game. Alright, now I'm gonna tell you how to use every option in photo mode. The first section is camera. If you change camera mode to game, it's just gonna lock, move and rotate and everything else, so you can't move the camera, you can only apply other options. I recommend you to use custom, so you can move the camera by L and rotate it by R, and also you can zoom in with L2 and zoom out with R2. You have another option here which named roll. You can rotate, it's like panning the camera, you can change it from minus 90 degrees to 90 degrees. The second option in camera is field of view, which you can change the field of view of game. It's like zooming on picture to change field of view while capturing pictures. You can change this option from 0 to 100. Also with pressing R2 you can active grid, so you can change the position of your character or anything else in your screen, but don't forget to turn it off before you capture screenshots, because it's like overlay on screen, so if you capture the picture like this, you can see the grid on screenshots as well. You can see changing the zoom with L2 and R2. Now let's go to second section, which is really important and effective to take pictures, depth of field. Alright, I'm gonna show you how would it work by turning it on. It's like focusing on character or anything else that you want to. After using depth of field, you have two other options. One is distance and another one is intensity. And as you can see, by changing distance you can change the focus point. If you want to go further, you can go for higher values, and if you're gonna change it for closer objects, you should go for less value. With second option, which is intensity, you can change the blurriness which you get with DOF. So if you go for higher values, you will get more blurriness on background. If you go for less, you can see sharper image on whole screen. Let's have a look at before turning on depth of field and after. This is before, this is after. You can see it is really better to use depth of field when you want to take a screenshot in this game and other games as well. Alright, let's go for third section, which is display. We have three options here. First one is brightness, second one is sharpness, and third one is saturation. By changing brightness, you can change the brightness of picture while taking screenshots. You can change it from 0 to 100. Sharpness will give you more textures in picture. I'm gonna show you how would it work with better example. If you change it to less value, you will get less sharpness of picture, and if you change it to higher value, sharpness will be higher. This is sharpness 0 and this is sharpness 100. And also to reset any value in photo mode, you can simply press triangle button. And with saturation, you can change the saturation of picture. You can change it to 0. If you change it to 0, you're gonna get less colors and it's gonna be black and white. And if you change it to 100 or the numbers which are closer to 100, you will get more colors. Normal saturation is 25. Alright, let's go for fourth section, which is really cool, screen effects. Chromatic aberration. This effect will change the RGB channel and the position of them. You can go and Google it if you want to understand more about it. I'm just gonna show you a little bit how would it work if you change it. But if you want a normal picture which is realistic, you can keep it at default. The second filter is film grain, which will add some noises in the picture. Normally it's 37 when you're playing, even in game, not only in screen effects. And if you want a better picture, a better quality, you can change it to 0 so you don't have any noise in the picture. But if you want to make it a little bit realistic, you can change it to 30, 37, but as higher value as you go for, it will give you more noises. The problem with this filter is it's gonna affect on whole picture. It doesn't matter, because normally in real life, when you have a camera and you're gonna take a picture, darker areas have a little bit noise and lighter areas don't have noise. But in this filter, film grain, it's gonna affect on whole picture. Look at this. This is 0 film grain and this is 100%. If you're watching on 1080, you can understand how would it work. And also if you're using depth of it, I recommend you to use a little bit of film grain, so it's gonna make it a little bit more natural, and it depends on the picture and the place in the game, of course. And the third effect, which is motion blur, it depends on the game. If you're walking, you can't feel the difference, but if you're running, you can see the motion blur. I'm gonna show you how would it work. As you can see, if I change motion blur here, because we were running, it's gonna add some effects like blurriness, but motion blur, which is really good, which is gonna make it really natural. So this is motion blur 0 and this is motion blur 100. You can change it slowly and gradually to see if it's working for you and if it's good. Alright, now it's time to go to filters section. You can apply some presets filters and change the intensity of them, and also hide the characters here. If you move it to 0, you will get less effect of that filter, and if you set it to 100%, that filter is gonna apply 100% on your picture. You can hide the player, the character which you're controlling, or allies or enemies if they are in the picture, and also other, which means like animals, dogs, or other things. And if you select all, it's gonna hide all of them. You can see different filters like warm and others, so you can change the intensity to get better results. Alright, if you press R1, we have Vignette here, which you can turn it on and change the size and intensity. Vignette in this game is circle, so if your focus point isn't in the center, it's not gonna help much. As you can see, by changing intensity, you can change the filter effect. It's like a filter, of course, and by changing size, you can see how would it work. Alright, I'm gonna keep it at that and let's go for the next section. Frames. Here you can select some frames with different ratio. For example, if you want to take a screenshot for your phone, you can select one of them which have ratio for square or something else, and you can also change the color and intensity of frames. Screen color, in color will get more the color of the picture and it will apply that on the frame. Actually, frames are blur if you take a look at them. If we use intensity 0, and if you change the intensity, it's gonna apply the color to that blur part. The last part is logos. You can add some logos and select the position of them and change the size of them. If you want to, for example, share the picture on social media, it's good to have some logos so people can understand what's the game. Alright, at the end I'm gonna change some settings to show you how photo mode could be helpful for taking screenshots, and also if you'd like to get high resolution screenshots in PS4, even fat version, you can check the video in the description.